I don't know if you guys have voted in the general election, but yo, that's my Jawn!
That's my Jawn!
Hey yo, displace the guilt. What's good, friends and family, neighbors, near and far? Welcome to episode 6 of the Yo, That's My Jawn podcast, the podcast, website, brand, movement, way of life dedicated to the embrace and championing of your passions. I am your host, Nate Runkle, a.k.a. Nate 3.0, a.k.a. Johnny Cash, a.k.a. John Luke Picard, a.k.a. Genghis John, a.k.a. John Wick, a.k.a. the guy in the PG-13 movie everyone's really hoping makes it happen, a.k.a. Nape Toppy, here with yet another new episode for the masses. Big ups to Tim Conley for coming through with John Luke Picard for yet another AKA submission. And shout out to the love of my life, Katie Daubney, who came up with Genghis John. Keep them all coming, guys. I'm loving it. As always, I hope this podcast finds you all in good health and in good spirits. Today, I speak with the one and only Scott Miller. Scott and I go back. Way back. Way back. Like, we've known each other since I was 10 way back. Like, we started our musical careers together way back. Like, back, all the way in the back. So, having shared the stage for close to 30 years, it was a no-brainer to share the pod with him. And you know, talking with Scott brought back some amazing memories of the journey that led both of us here. You know, we get into this during the interview, but we learned our crafts together. And over the years, there have been so many contributors who have helped us along the way. I just want to take a moment to thank some of the people who played a part in those early days before either Scott or I had any clue with what we were doing with our instruments. To Joe Gilmer, the founding father who put together the Swinging Cannons, the greatest lip sync to karaoke to actual band that ever was. And to everyone who was ever lucky enough to call themselves a canon. Keith Reber, Bud Kling, Sharon Miller, Andrew Scott, Thaddeus Jeremiah Van Gilder, Vincent Ball, Stacy Greer, and the late Pilar Dahlman. To Mr. and Mrs. Miller, who let Scott and I make horrendous noise in their basement that eventually became less and less horrendous until finally it became somewhat tolerable. To the North Penn Marching Knights, who taught us a discipline that remains in our core through to today. To Tex-Mex Connection, who gave us a stage when we probably didn't deserve one and provided a place where we could experiment freely and find ourselves and find our own voice. And personally, to my parents and my grandmother, who are no longer with us, that not only gave me life, but gave me confidence as they very much believed in me. You know, I know it sounds cliche, but nothing I do would exist without the support they gave me throughout all of my life. I only wish that they were here so they could hear me say that. Most importantly, I want to thank Scott. He has challenged me to be a better musician since day one. It was like, oh, shoot, Scott can actually play a drum beat now. Crap. I better figure out how to play some chords. You know, I'm never as comfortable on stage as I am when I look over my shoulder and I see him there behind the drums or the bongos or the congas or the djembe or the cajon or whatever version of a percussive instrument he has brought along to the party this go-around. I've been blessed to be able to make music with him for all these years, and beyond that, I've been blessed to have had him in my life as a friend. After this very short ad break, we will have my interview with Scott Miller. Without further ado, my guest today is a percussive mastermind who has played drums in the bands Rocky Development, Stonejackballers, Black River Commenter, as well as playing with me in the Swinging Cannons and the Impact Players. He can currently be found behind the drums in the prog rock powerhouse formerly known as Valdez, the newly minted Tribe of Names. He fucking plays drums, and he fucking plays them better than you do. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming my brother from another mother, Mr. Scott Miller.
Oh, I see the thing.
It's recording. Guys, I'm here with Scott Miller, my buddy. We got buddies. It's another buddy episode.
What's up, Nate?
How you doing, sir?
Doing great, man. Doing great.
I am honored.
Yeah.
You'll hear it everybody's got to get used to this at this point, but I haven't recorded it yet. But I have written it out, and all. You will be honored by the great intro that I just gave you leading into this.
I can't wait to see it.
But you deserve every single word that I've said. Tell these people a little bit about yourself, where you're from, where you grew up. I know these answers, but
yeah, you do. No, first, thanks for having me, man. This is awesome. Love the show. It's great, man. It's really great.
Thanks.
All the best with it because it rocks. So your Jawn is my Jawn.
Oh, buddy.
As it is. So me, I grew up in North Wales. I was born in the end of the 70s, the end of the golden era, right? Grew up in North Wales, right around the corner from you.
Oh yeah, that was you.
That was me. Yeah, through the North Penn School District. Lots of laughs, lots of music. After high school, did some college time, did my time there, played in a little bit of bandage in there in college and after, and, music is been the constant, in my life, the recurring thing that has always been there. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. So speaking of music, like, what kind of music were your parents listening to, like early on before you had your own taste? Like what was going on there?
We were in the house and in the car. It was whatever would stop a fight between my sister and I. Whatever it was that we could agree on. Tended to be mostly oldies. The 50s and the 60s. Lots of doo-wop. My dad was kind of a country head. So he had his thing in the Alan Jackson and the Garth Brooks, not the old school country,
right?
Not like Willie Nelson and Hank Williams and that stuff. Although that was my grandmom's twist, my dad's mom, huge. I just said his name and now I forget it.
Willie Nelson and
Willie Nelson. Yeah, she actually had a Willie Nelson bandana hanging on her wall, from a concert. That was pretty cool. So whenever I hear
awesome.
him, I naturally think of her. But yeah, it was mostly oldies. That's what.
So, you mentioned that you have a sister. How much do you think that her tastes influenced your taste? You said that it was whatever stopped the fight, but at some point it kind of merged, right?
It did. Yeah, it did. Oddly enough, yeah. I went to my first concert because of her, which, I'm just going to out myself right now. And it was New Kids on the Block. Right. So the way that it happened, and I have a defense for this, this is my garden. People are like, what? New Kids on the Block. She wanted to go, New Kids were hot. They were super hot. Of course you remember. And she wanted to go. And was it 6th grade I was in, which puts her in 8th grade, she wanted to go. And she was like, I want to go. And to quell any sibling rivalry, it was, you can go if your brother goes. So I was like, all right, cool. I'll go see New Kids on the Block. Although this didn't actually, shape my, interest in music, but it's just a stamp in the timeline. So that was my first concert, New Kids on the Block, with Dino. Do you remember Dino?
I do
remember that guy 24/7, right?
Yeah.
But definitely the stuff that I picked up from her, Poison. Poison was, she was, big into Poison, and I used to make fun of it. But I also would sit there and, air drum along with what's his name? Rocket. Not Mike Rocket.
Ricky Rocket. Yeah,
Ricky Rocket. Used to air drum along with that stuff, which, got me down the rock and roll path. So it did merge, and there was kind of a balance that was struck at some point, not, in the elementary school years. It took, junior high, high school before that happened.
Yeah. So, two funny Poison hits real quick. One, didn't your sister have like a Poison fan club with like Michelle Dermer or something like that? Am I remembering that right?
You probably are.
I'm just putting her on blast.
Yeah. You probably are.
And two, crazy Poison trivia fact is CC DeVille, the guitar player, his baby mom is from our area, and her dad used to come to Tex-Mex a lot when I was DJing. And like one day I was playing like Talk Dirty to Me while DJing, and he comes up, he goes, "You like them?" I go, yeah, whatever. And he was like, "That's my son-in-law." And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I love them. They're great." But, but he came back a lot, and he was like, "Oh, CC's in town all the time for Christmas," and because they still have a very close family. But there you go. There's a little Poison factoid. So you talked about air drumming. You see how much I run at the mouth. You talked, you know. You talked about air drumming. When did drums become like your thing? Like,
that's a tough call. Like I said, like I used to. One of my first tapes was Phil Collins, "No Jacket Required." Right. So I'm checking my hair in the thing, and it's out of control. I got COVID cut still. So, that was, Phil Collins, it's percussive music, it's just crazy drums all over it. And, air drumming along to Poison, I think I have, when I really have to nail it down, was, not to get into our history too early before we get there, but, Swinging Cannons, right? Mm-hmm. So it was like, okay, well, guitars, your thing, Joe's handling singing, what's left, bass, I'm not going to talk trash on bass, but
nobody wants to be the bass player.
Drums, they're just flat out cool. And then again, tying my sister into my musical growth, I guess, was when she joined marching band. She was in the color guard, and seeing the drum line there was just it was out of this world, man. They were so good, and that like cemented it. That really cemented it. Like I've got to do this. Like this is a great outlet. It's just so cool. So that's really where it got nailed down, I think.
Yeah. You didn't take lessons, right? Formal lessons or like...
I did. I took lessons for like 3 weeks.
Okay. That's, yeah.
Maybe 3 months, it's a stretch, but it wasn't long. And it was at Stewart's Music.
Yeah.
Over there. And it was in preparation for the marching band. And I was told, I remember in junior high, I had said to the music teacher in junior high, I want to do this. What do I have to do? Point me in the right direction. I'd never took band, and didn't, know the first thing about doing this the right way. And he said, well, start taking lessons immediately. Okay. So I started taking those lessons. And then once I, got into the marching band, like lessons stopped because that was lessons.
That was, yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like, now this is pretty much an easy question, but do you feel like marching band was kind of the moment when you realized, oh shit, this isn't just something I like for fun. This is something that I want to do for the rest of my life. Like,
yeah, it was. And it's probably, partial love of the drums, but it was also so much time spent,
Yeah.
You did it. It's just hours upon hours upon hours. And to throw that away, and you learn so much in such a short period of time that like after 3 years of high school and doing marching band, you feel like, not that you've mastered it. You never master it, you just always learn, but I have a foundation, by which to stand. I can build upon this on my own, and carry it on from there. And did. Did I answer that question?
Yeah, I think you did, and not just did, but very successfly. If I do say so myself, like these people don't know, but when we first started playing together, you had that yard sale drum set that had like maybe a 3-piece, if that.
It was like a bass drum, snare drum, and I think a floor tom.
Right.
Maybe a cymbal.
And you were playing that with wooden spoons for a good deal of time before you got drumsticks, you know?
Yeah.
So like to know where you are now from that, I mean, I guess everybody starts somewhere, but whatever.
Yeah, of course.
It's fucking impressive to me.
Well, thanks. You know, it was what, like, 30 years, just about. Yeah. So, but that's where it did start, and there was air drumming, with the swinging cannons, and then it was that yard sale drum set, and just playing that boom to gat to gat to goom gat to goom goom gat to gat to goom gat. Like that was the only beat, and I probably played that beat for 5 years for every song that I ever attempted to play.
And it fit.
And it fit, and then you do what everybody does, you save up money and you find I found a bass drum that was for sale. And then a snare drum. And so you just slowly like build this stuff up, and, you're building these drums up as you're, building your knowledge, so, it was a wild ride, starting from nothing and not knowing anything to, I still don't really know anything.
Well, do any of us ever really know anything? Do you still have pieces of that old set, or is that all long gone?
There might be a piece or two at my parents' house in the basement. Maybe like a drum that's been, in a dingy basement for, 20 some odd years. I don't have any pieces of it here. Yeah. But there might still be a piece of like a cymbal stand or something like that back there.
I'm surprised you haven't added it to the 60 million drums that make up your drum set right now. But that's impressive that you show restraint.
There's only, thank you. There's only 5 drums in my drum set.
Yeah.
Five.
Okay.
5 drums.
And how
16
many
cymbals?
Yeah, there 16. You go.
With 5 drums.
So you mentioned the swinging cannons. How did that come about? I actually came to the cannons late, if you don't remember, but
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you how that started. It's probably something that's like traumatic that I've erased from my memory.
Out. Yeah.
I think Joe may have hit me over the back of the head, and I woke up and I was like, "Oh, cool, we're in an air band."
Yeah, to explain to people what an air band is we lip synced and played like blow up instruments and air guitars and air drums and stuff like that at parties. That was we'd put on a show. And we did it a lot, which is weird. But and then somehow that I think the drum set might have come first, or Joe's guitar came first. One of those two came first, and then it was like, all right, now we play instruments. And
it was probably the guitar. Yeah. That came first. I would have to imagine. But I do remember, bringing this back, like memories start flooding back. I remember, we'd rehearse at Joe's house. When we first got, like instruments. Yeah. When we were doing the, Cannons Kill Your Christmas stuff, but Joe's older brother, Bob, he had, the band that played in the basement up there.
Shout out to the Flaming Buttheads.
Yes, the Flaming Buttheads. And I remember walking into that room and seeing that huge Roland, you remember that old electronic kit that was there?
Yeah.
And that was probably another pivotal moment, seeing that and going, wow, that looks really cool. Like I could get down with that. And Joe was like, do not touch it. Don't even look at it. So, okay, I won't, but maybe I'll get one of my own someday.
Yeah. Yeah. I thinking about the Cannons, I did miss a step, because when you said Cannons Kill Your Christmas, it reminded me, there was also that brief, Weird Al-esque karaoke version of the group where we just changed lyrics and sang over karaoke tracks. So I forgot about that part too.
Yeah. And I mean, if you want to just go through history here, it was that. And then, there was the Battle of the Bands.
Yes. Yeah.
Hugely profound. That was so cool, because I wasn't even in high school then. I don't think. I think I was in 9th grade and you were in 10th grade, and that would have made Joe a junior. That's
right. That sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that was super cool. Like, wait a minute, I'm in 9th grade and I'm playing a Battle of the Bands at the high school. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And then, the other Battle of the Bands at the YMCA.
Yeah. I really wish there was some form of recording from that show, because all I remember was everything went wrong from start to finish. Just to catch people up, we played a Battle of the Bands at the YMCA. I actually think I just found the program for the show in a folder.
way.
Yeah. I think it's upstairs. Actually, I should have grabbed that too. It's also in that folder is all of the old Cannons lyrics from when we were that that karaoke band. Those should probably disappear. But so we played the YMCA Battle of the Bands, and I don't know your memories of it. All I know is I remember like we were promised a drum set and we didn't have a drum set. And then like everything else, we were promised amps. There were no amps there. We didn't have amps. So.
No, we barely. I remember that was the I ended up playing some drum set, and I remember it was the first time that I actually played a real ride cymbal for the first time. Before it was, like not a trash can lid when I say, but the cymbal, the musical equivalent of a trash can lid.
Yeah, that thing was heavy too.
Yeah, and, actually playing a ride cymbal for the first time, it felt like your stick would up. I'm sorry, did I lose you?
Yeah, there you are. You're back.
Oh my gosh, I've got the thing plugged in. I've got my battery plugged in, and it just said 20%.
We're all here.
So it hit it with the stick, and I remember like the first time, like we were playing Plush. And I don't remember if we opened with that or if that was the only song we played. I just remember Plush was involved, and hitting the ride cymbal for the first time, and it felt like the stick like sank into it. I was like, wow, this is crazy. Yeah, I don't remember too much from that, except Plush. I remember hanging out afterwards, and I think I got picked up. I think my dad picked me up afterwards. Like that's how long ago it was.
Sounds about right.
But it was cool. Like it felt so cool, playing a Battle of the Bands. Like
I remember like loading in and stuff, and we were like, "Oh man, this is awesome! We're like rock stars, and we're up on this stage with lights and stuff." And like literally could not play the songs that we were playing.
Yeah, well, because there was no concept of rehearsal. Like
right.
You half-ass your way through the song once, and you're like, "We got it. We're gonna roll." There's no repeating, let's just work on that intro a couple times and nail that down. No, there was none of that.
Yeah.
None of
also around this time, we entered that Spin Magazine contest for the worst band in America. I don't know if you remember that.
No, but I can tell you we didn't win, and that's a farce.
That is exactly right.
There's no doubt in my mind that we were the worst band in America.
There's no way anyone was worse than we were.
No, it's not possible.
That was bad. But so we're talking Cannons. I wanted to show you. I was actually going to wear this tonight, but it's falling apart. But this is
that's hot.
Yeah, it's retro, but like you can see it's seen better days. So that is
you gotta frame that, man. You gotta frame it. That's beautiful.
But yeah, so then like, we started jamming and we started like writing songs. And I think like marching band really like brought all of us kind of into our own, I don't know if you feel any different, but like that was really when I was like, oh, wait, we can make music. Like it's not just a joke where we goof around and.
Oh, yeah. Not to. Make light or not make light, but put it out there, like there's a stigma that's attached with marching band. Right. Like, let's be honest, right?
Yeah, sure.
But you talk about like all the fundamental stuff that at least I gained from it. It was just so important, like just confidence, and that's huge, being able to go out and just play in front of somebody. Of course, you got 7 other people playing the same instrument as you, and that gives you the safety, but it also just gives you the confidence to be out there and stand there and be like, well, this is what I'm doing, and there's people that are watching you and literally judging you, over what it is that you're doing, and that's huge, and learning how to just go over parts and be meticulous about it, and really put the effort in to make it worthwhile, to really get something out of it and be productive with it.
Yeah, I think one of the besides rhythm and tempo, which, like I can still hear the the cowbell counting time on everything I do. But I think one of the big things was breaking songs into sections. Because I always was just like, all right, we just play the song from start to finish. But like breaking, like, let's just work on this part right here, or let's just work on that part right there. Now, mind you, I haven't done that in 50 million years, but but the concept,
I still do it all the time.
I'm sure. Well, especially with the, we'll get to it a little later, but the music you guys are writing, with the different movements and stuff and the different arcs to it, like I can obviously understand that you would have to break that into pieces and kind of. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, just to learn it, technology is hugely important, with the learning process these days. There's stuff that if there's a section, and it might not even be one of our songs, just like a song that I'm learning, you can take it and you can cut that section out and you can loop it. Yeah. Like, where was that 25 years ago? And you can slow it down and keep the pitch the same, so you can sit there and really like just learn it, and it's amazing. The tools that are available today.
How much do you, I mean, clearly you just said a lot, but like, how much do you use technology in playing drums nowadays? Not just learning things, but just, in complete.
A lot, especially since COVID. There's, to bring, this, but, people watching don't. So the band that I play in now is Tribe of Names. We were formerly Valdez, became Tribe of Names after losing a keyboard player. We didn't lose him. It's not like, we were like, holy shit, where did he go? But, so people come in and out of bands sometimes. That just as well as anybody else does. So after losing the keyboardist, it was, his name that he had brought to the band for Valdez. So without him, we're like, all right, well, it's time for a name change. We've got a new guitarist that had come in. So our sonic palette changed. So we figured it was best to change our names. And with COVID and everything kind of being balled together, we needed to kind of adopt technology because we needed, you can't play gigs. So you have to incorporate technology at home to be able to do this, Zoom meetings, live streaming, stuff like that. Now, in terms of losing the keyboard player, we started using backing tracks, which is something I'd never done before. Nobody in the band had. So what it entails is, you've got to import this stuff into a sampling pad, and you've got synthesizers and keyboard tracks that are playing, that the band plays along with. So it might just be Taurus pedals, just like bass swells in the background, stuff like that. But it has to be in time, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to play to a click track. So I've got a click track in my ears. All the band is using in your monitors now. So, there's more technology. And it all has to line up. So now I'm using more tech in music than I ever have before. And it's awesome because I'm learning a lot. It's like you said before, just never stop learning, and there's always something new. And yes, a lot of technology.
So when you're using those pads and stuff like that, none of them are triggers, right? You're essentially just playing to the track. Well, not the track, but to that part and the click, right? Or
not entirely.
Both.
Yeah, it's definitely both. There's one song that we do. It's called "They Live to Cry." There's a middle 8 section where there's some old like 30s kind of like mobster-esque sound bites, and those are triggered live. Okay. So while the backing track is playing, I'm interjecting those off of the sampling pad, so they come through. And I keep a trigger on my bass drum, which is really cool because what it does is I hit the one pad on the sampling pad and it's a cymbal swell, right? So it's it builds up, but you need it to end at a certain point. So if there's a break in the song where everybody stops, you need that cymbal swell to stop when everybody comes back in playing. So what I did was I queued up the trigger on the bass drum to the cymbal swell so that it shuts the cymbal swell off.
Okay, like a kill switch almost. Yeah.
Exactly, like a kill switch, which is crazy, to figure out how to do all that stuff.
That's wild. So the cymbal swell, like you couldn't do that with one of the 32 cymbals that you have on your set currently, or I'm just.
Well, I mean, I could if you're gonna draw me out like that. Yeah, I could.
I just, one of the 30 or 40 that are surrounding you at all times. I just thought maybe one of those could do it. But, No, okay. So
I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed. I'm a cymbal-holic,
I just to let everybody know, I've for decades now have busted Scott's balls about the number of drums and cymbals and just random equipment. And I'm like, how about just like a snare and a kick drum and maybe you get a floor tom and a hat, but
yeah. But then I'm like, no, but I got a tambourine too. Here's the tambourine. I got to have the tambourine in there. Well, we don't even use the tambourine. I know, but I'm just going to put it over here in case I need it.
Just to need it. And then you'll sit there and play and you'll just hear it's like, see? Yeah, what?
Yeah. I told you I was going to use it. But, it's funny because it did start that first, like, real drum set that I had. It was, I had bought that bass drum I had referenced earlier, but then I had found, what was her name? Christine, rode the bus with us back in junior high. Her brother.
Christine Casella.
Thank you. Her brother was a drummer. Hi. Thanks for the drums. Her brother had a drum set and was selling them, and it was like 7 toms. You remember that set.
I do remember that.
It was like 8, 10, 12, 13, 15, 16, 18. Like, it was like the Neil Peart thing, just a huge expansive drum set. And then I had like 3 or 4 cymbals.
That's right.
So I've gone the opposite way. But that's my twist. You know what I mean? Like I find that's where all the good sounds are.
In the cymbals?
In the cymbals, all the good sounds are in there. You've got so many pitches and timbres and stuff like that you can thud the drums all day, but it's really I love matching melody with cymbals.
Dude, I respect it. I just like to bust your balls.
I know.
So
I said I'm not ashamed, but I am a little bit ashamed because I defended. I'm like, no, but you don't know.
You don't know. Someday I might need that one. So we played a bunch in high school. We started writing. We wrote the greatest rock song ever written, Chicken Cutlets. Performed that at the high school talent show, and did not win. We were robbed. It was fixed. The fix was in. Nate.
Look at the screen here. Look at the screen. Yeah. We weren't robbed. We weren't robbed.
I will find a copy of that and I will put it up. And because Joe gave me all the old VHS tapes. I have them. They're sitting right here at my feet.
If I remember correctly, the audio that came out of that was just.
Yeah, we played a little loud. A little loud. So then you went to Kutztown, correct? For art.
Yeah. I went for communication design. Fancy art, right? I had hoped to be an illustrator, like advertising, that kind of thing. Digital art was, really starting to get big. So I thought that was going to be my future. But it turns out that I wasn't as good as I thought I was.
Is that true though? Because I've always thought you were an incredible artist. So I'm essentially filleting you this entire night. So I hope you at least give me the goddamn common courtesy of a reach around. But yeah, but so you just stopped doing it? I don't know. What happened to art? That's what I'm getting at.
That's a great question. I don't know. It's like one of those things. Did you ever hear? Are you familiar with? He's an underground rapper. I can't underground. What's underground anymore, right? Independent is probably the better way to describe him. Aesop Rock. You ever listen to him?
Yeah.
He's got this one great track from the album Impossible Kid. It's called "Lot of Years."
Okay.
Where Like when I hear that song, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, was he watching me when he wrote this? Because he talks about like learning like how to do all this stuff, like learning what, you know, how to foreshorten an arm properly, and like the magical moments of realizing like how to do these things and like become an artist. And then you just put it away for a little bit, you know, and 1 week becomes a month, and a month becomes a year, you know, and then before you know it, like you look back and you're like, I used to do this. I don't do this anymore. After I left school, I didn't graduate from Kutztown. And I think, you know, maybe not to say that I wasn't as good as I thought I was, but there was definitely an element of being a bigger fish in a smaller pond. And then getting into that, that realm where everybody is incredible. You know, it left a bad taste in my mouth. And I really did think I was getting good, but just not as good as I thought I should have been.
Yeah. No, I do. I hear you. Like, I know my own stuff going to school, like, is somewhat a little different in that, like, so I went for TV, and I went to the TV station, and I was like, I know so much more than everyone else here. And I'm like training people, classmates and stuff like that, how to do things. But I lacked this certain thing called discipline and drive. And and everybody like took everything that like I knew, and then like 3 years later, we're like getting jobs doing these things. And I'm like, that guy sucks. Why is he getting a job? And they're like, well, he busted his ass and he did the work. And I was like, oh, right. But I totally get it. Like, I understand like the idea of like, this is something that was a major focus in my life. And then like one day I'm like, I'll get back to it. And then you just never find it again, you know, or you do. And you're like, oh, that's right. I love doing this. That's weird. You know, this is kind of an extension of that, like doing some form of video kind of thing where I'm just like, oh, right. I do like putting on these kind of things. And
yeah, you brought it around full circle.
That's right. That's right.
You know, and one day, you know, I hope to, you know, get back to art. You know, not now. Life is crazy. You know, there's work and music and life. You know, in retirement, you know, maybe I'll pick it back up again. But the constant is music. You know what I mean? Like that definitely when music started really taking over. There's not room for both. I don't think, you know, there's only so many hours in a day. And I'll get back to it eventually, but music's way more important to me now than art, I think, ever was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Scott, you know, music is art. So, I mean, it's like,
music is art. Yes. I can't discredit that, but the visual art is compared to the audio arts. Yeah.
So when you're in Kutztown, you become a member of Rocky Development. How did that come about? Did you guys did you join that, or was that an existing thing, or did you guys like kind of like let's just kick it off?
3 out of the 4 guys knew each other and played, and they had brought me in. Great players, really great players. They had brought me in, and, you know, we played a couple songs. I think we might have, you know, pulled off 3 or 4 gigs. You know, it's college stuff. You know, you play a bar. Oh my God, we got a spot at a bar. You know, let's go do that.
Yeah.
And it was very, I was punching above my weight class with those guys, I think, which helped. You know, I think that's always important for people to do, you know, go out of your depth.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that saying that, you know, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You know, that I think that applies to music too. You know, if you surround yourself with better musicians than you are, you're going to get better. You're going to be better. You sink or swim, you know, you gotta, you know, step into it and just rise up to it.
That's right.
And I think I did with those guys. I mean, they were listening, you know, to Bela Fleck, you know, that sort of stuff. It was kind of hippie-ish. But it pushed me, you know, not just playing, you know, like Plush, you know, we're playing more intricate stuff. And it did very well for me to do that. And it didn't last long. We recorded like 2 EPs, some songs in there. And yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time.
Do you still have those EPs?
I do. I have them loaded up in my iTunes. Yeah.
Yeah, because I literally just found that disc too. It's actually sitting right over here.
Nice.
But no, you like that stuff was great. Like you guys should probably like have a quick conversation and throw it up on Bandcamp or something like that. Like, let people hear it,
Yeah. It's not a bad idea. I know I'm still Facebook friends, whatever that's worth, with the guitarist, Brian, who's still playing. He's still doing his thing. He has a band. I think he's working for like the SEC. Like Brian was like super smart, man. Like you hang around Brian, like you're going to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And he is playing with a group now. I can't remember the name. I can't think of it off the top of my head. I should know it. I didn't do very good prep, but it's great stuff. Really great stuff. So it's awesome to see that he's still out there,
That's cool.
Making music. Yeah.
Yeah,
super
absolutely.
Yeah.
So then you come home. We play at Tex-Mex a bunch, and then somehow
A lot.
Well, yeah, I guess that was a few times, once or twice. We played at Tex-Mex a lot. And but through that and through like kind of starting the open mic night there and stuff like that, you meet Matt Giacchetti, and then Stonejackballers happens. Like how did your involvement start with that?
Yeah, it wasn't even the open mic night. It wasn't an open mic night that started with me getting me into the Stonejackballers. It was a random Saturday night, just hanging out at Tex-Mex, because he didn't play there enough or hang out there enough. But the band Cree was playing. Do you remember them?
I do remember them, yeah.
They were like an acoustic duo, and I very much back in the day, like there were parallels between you and I and Cree. They, had light rigs and wore a wig and stuff. But
yeah,
it was the percussion. It was congas and bongos, some cymbals, a little bass drum, and guitars. And they were taking a break, and they said, we're taking a break. We're going to bring a friend up. Anybody in here play drums? Yeah, I play. So I ended up going up, and it was Matt that they had brought up to play over their break, and it was his birthday. He was out celebrating his birthday, and we just gelled. We played like 3 or 4 songs, and it just snapped. And he was out with the then bassist of the band, and afterwards, we're like, that was really awesome, really cool. And they said, what are you doing tomorrow? Well, it's Sunday. I'm probably going to be nursing a hangover. What's up? They're like, well, we're recording at this guy's house. You want to come and record a little bit? And I was like, sure, why not? I don't know what songs we're going to play, what we're going to do, but sure, man, let's do it. So we went in and, recorded 3 or 4 songs, and, hung out. It was a lot of, getting to know you kind of stuff. And that's how I, got into the Ballers. And then Tommy was brought in shortly after that. And by then, we were a full force band,
Yeah.
And that was definitely, that was the part of the development of my musical career where everything kind of came together. Like the rehearsing, like the songwriting, having an ear and having creative input. All of those things kind of gelled in that band, and it was awesome. I mean, we were loud, and the arc that band took, was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Getting to sit back and just create these songs was a ton of fun, and it was just a great band.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember or not, but I played bass for the Ballers for like a week.
You did. Yes, you did. You came in.
Yeah,
you came in. I do remember that.
I do. I remember sitting with Matt one night, and he was like, if you do this, I'm going to need 100% of your time. And I was like, I'm going to have to then decline because I can't give you 100%. I got my own crazy thing going on. I should have just stayed.
Yeah. Well, that's when, we thought, we were going to take over the world. Which, every band thinks that at some point, that's going to happen.
I don't know. I think you guys had a really good chance. I mean, you had really great songs. The first demo or the first album had a wider range of songs. And then like by the time you guys hit the second album, you know, and Walsh came in and started playing bass, you guys really like found your thing, like found your sound. And I you know, I know life gets in the way of things and, you know, personalities clash at times and whatnot, but like, you know, you guys had a great thing. And we did
have a great thing. And, you know, like going back to the arc of that band, you're right. The, like the first stuff was a lot of Matt's input. Matt had, you know, a heavier hand in the songwriting. And by the second album, you know, we had Walsh, was great because he was like a lead bassist.
Yeah.
You know, because like fundamentally he's a guitarist, not really anymore, but, and then Tommy had really had his voice. So he and Matt were writing really well together along with Mike. And we found a sound that was uniquely ours.
Yeah.
And it was great. And, you know, we had opportunities. We had good opportunities, played really awesome shows. Great stuff. You know, I got to play at the Truck. Like that was huge. You know, that's where we used to go see bands in high school all the time.
Yeah, man.
You know? I'm like, oh my God, I'm in the green room at the Truck. Like, does it get any better than this? This place is disgusting. You know, like, get me out of here. All of that. So, you know, we had our shot. And, you know, I think, you know, not we made waves or anything like that, but, you know, we put it down.
Yeah.
We put it down.
100%. I know you guys were kind of got together for a little bit to record some of what would have been the third album, right? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Whatever happened to that material? Because I know you recorded most of it, right?
We tracked it. We tracked it all, and that was a tough process. There were conflicting schedules to make that happen. So we ended up, we recorded it at Catapult in North Wales. Brett of Echoland engineered the album. And the way it was recorded was I had set up the drums. We were supposed to, the plan was we're going to track it together. You know, go in, cut it live. We rehearsed the songs. We played those songs so many times before. So we, you know, just kind of knocked the dust off them and went, all right, let's go in and record them. And it really wasn't to make it the caliber that Quarter Moon was. Like Quarter Moon, we slaved over. I mean, there were hours upon hours of mixing and, you know, doing all this stuff. We were just going to go in, cut it live, mix it down, let the people have it. Which is probably the best way to do it. You know, when you start overworking stuff, you know, you kind of, you wreck the dough.
You take all the magic out of it.
Yeah, you do. You can.
Right.
So schedules had clashed and we ended up tracking the songs with me playing them just on the drums. And Tommy was like singing along to them and like playing guitar loosely behind them. And it was just a train wreck. But we ended up getting them recorded and they sounded pretty good. They were, I don't even think they were ever mixed. Things fell apart with the band. And they just got left in the can. I still have like unmixed versions of them, but it's tough to listen to unmixed stuff.
Yeah. It's right.
You know, because you're like, it's just, everything's out of whack. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like the cymbals are down in the mix, the drums are up, the guitar is like over here, and it's like a half a solo over here. So it's really skeletal. I still have them, you know, every once in a while I'll throw them on and play to them. And I got to tell you, like the years have not been kind. Like to what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Isn't nearly as aggressive as the Ballers were, Stonejackballers. Not that was super aggressive, but it was more aggressive. And that was, you know, in our late 20s. And I'll put these songs on. I'll play through 5 songs and I am just whooped.
Yeah?
I'm whooped. I'm out of breath. I'm sweating. I'm like, oh my God, how did we do this? Like we would go out there and, you know, and play 3-hour-long sets, you know, balls to the walls. And then, you know, wake up the next day and, all right, go to work. You know, I play through 5 songs, you know, in the rehearsal room and I'm shot. It's crazy.
Yeah, it sucks getting old, man. It does.
Yeah. But the album, we had a cool concept for it, for that last one. We were going to call it Patient Zero, which is kind of cool. Kind of not prophetic, not with COVID or anything like that. But it's a shame that we never got to get it out to the people. We had some friends come in and do some gang vocals. Is a nice nod to the people that always came out to see us. It would have been cool to get it out to them. So that's a bummer.
That is a bummer. A bummer. So then following, I guess, would it have been, maybe it was a little bit before that third album recording or whatnot, but you moved to Florida. And then, did you just musically take a break? What were you doing down there?
No. I played with a group down in Florida called Dead End River.
Okay.
Very Toolish. I love Tool. That's my twist. Very Toolish, kind of Mastodonish. Heavy stuff, but melodic. Slow and grindy and churny kind of stuff. And it was cool. I actually never, they ended up playing a gig maybe a couple months after I had left and moved back. But we never got to play a gig, which was a disappointment, but got some hella jamming.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it was nice to be able to step in and get to do that anyway, meet some people and just play some music.
Yeah. So, I guess, then next band-wise comes the formation of Valdez. Were you in the beginning of this, or?
No, you're skipping over.
What did I forget? Yeah, God, I'm a terrible friend.
No, you're not. There's one you're missing, Black River Commoner.
Oh my God, I forgot all about that. Yeah, that.
Remember them?
Yeah.
I lived in Red Hill, and played with those guys. We recorded one record. We did it ourselves. Made the artwork ourselves. Did all that. I put it out there. We were really good. It wasn't a good band. There were good players in there, but every show we played, we probably played maybe 24 shows, maybe, if I'm being generous. And it seemed like every time we played, there would be more people in the beginning than there were at the end.
Oh no!
And it was well, what's happening? This just isn't right. Something's off here. But Chris, the guitarist from that band, phenomenal. He went on to do some other stuff with King Bison. He's a Doom guy. Very kind of clutchy, not ZZ Top, but you know what I mean? Clutchy ZZ Top. If you mix that and then drop the BPMs by 25, that's where he's at, right? Hell of a guitarist. He's still doing it, so it's good to see that. But yeah, that was Black River Commoner. So
I forgot all about that. That's awesome. Yeah, dude. Yeah. I forgot all about that. That was a great band. That was good. No, I dug it. It was definitely the kind of shit that I wanted to go out and see, just to, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. It was the kind of music that you were drinking shots to.
Yes, that's exactly what I mean.
Yeah. And you listen to that when you want to get in a fight. You know what I mean? When you want to get in a fight and lose.
Which is every fight I get in. So that's
yeah. Oh.
That's awesome. Yeah, I forgot all about that. God damn.
So that was Black River Commoner. And then, that leads into Valdez.
So you get the meeting from your uncle? Is that how that comes through, or was it working with Brett on that Baller stuff, or was it?
I'm not sure exactly. I know it was Greg, my uncle. If you're watching, hi Greg.
Hey Greg.
I know I thanked him in the Tribe of Names little introduction video that we had made, but I'll thank you again. Thank you. So he had Valdez was looking for a drummer. And Greg, of course, he's lifelong friends with Brett from Echoland, knows Tom, who is in Valdez, and said, my nephew plays. And he's like, oh, yeah. And I had met Tom once or twice at different functions before. So he's like, oh, yeah, I know him. Yeah, okay, so we'll bring him in and give him an audition. So they did. And it was funny because that was my audition was on my birthday, and I thought it was hysterical. I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. But it was also extremely nerve-wracking because Echoland from growing up. I don't know. Yeah, their album from 1992, As the World, is like still one of my favorite albums, like all time. Like, if you're watching this, like, and you haven't heard of Echoland, get As the World. Go on whatever platform that you use and listen to it.
One of the greatest intros to an album ever of all time, period.
Yeah.
Stop. Like, it is fucking great.
Yeah. And they were, from my eyes anyway, like, they were the local guys that were going to make it, like they were going to be huge. They had to deal with Sony, they were opening shows for Dream Theater, and it's like crazy. Plus just the love that I had for their music. And, now I get an audition and it's, the bassist from Echoland. And I'm like, oh my, like, this is heavy. I don't know if I'm ready for this. I do not know. And again, it goes to punching above your weight, punching up. The singer, Simon, he's from Tiny Fish. He's, of course, people watching might not. He moved to the United States from England, where he had a really successful career with a band called Tiny Fish over the pond, and had done some stuff in the US with them as well. And they're signed previously, and when I auditioned with Bad Elephant Music out of England, they are a progressive rock label. So knowing all these things going into this audition, I'm like, oh my God, like, this is insane. I'm just going to go do the best I can. I had 3 songs that I was able to learn. And after the audition, they went, you're the guy. If you want it, you're awesome. The guy. And I was like,
happy birthday.
Yeah. Happy birthday to me. I got out and did like the Fred Flintstone heel kick, and that's, that's history. And that was awesome. Really, really cool. Really cool to be a part of that band.
That's amazing. So that first album, are you immediately then thrown to the wolves and it's like, all right, we're doing this here. Here's all these songs, or were you a part of kind of crafting those songs from that first album that you played on there?
No, those songs were created. And it was kind of catching up and learning those songs to be able to record them.
Okay. Yeah. So that album comes out, and that's called This, correct?
This, yes. It takes some stones to name an album This and not follow it up with That. But that's where we juked. You got to leave them wanting more. You got to take a different direction.
That's right. It's a supreme zag right there. You took the supreme zag. But so I listened to that album again, listening to prepping for this, kind of getting my juices ready. I also listened to a lot of Ballers. I listened to some of our old stuff. I listened to a little bit of Rocky D. And I didn't listen to Black River Commoner, and I'm so mad about that. But anyway, but listening to Valdez, like, to me, it kind of is like the perfect, like, culmination of everything you've built your playing towards. Like, it really feels like everything was leading to this. No pun intended. But do you agree, or am I just punting?
No, I absolutely agree. It's certainly the most musical album that I've ever played on. The most musical songs. I mean, there's piano and there's keys, and it runs kind of the gamut of song styles, a lot like the early Baller stuff did, where there's some kind of swing, kind of bluesy stuff, that like R&B-ish, like gospel-ish stuff. There's progressive rock. There's some spots that are heavy, and there's a lot of spots that you don't play at all. But it really was. It is a culmination, and that's a hard thing. We talk about it in the band all the time. That it's easy to play all the notes. One of the hardest things to do is to not play. You know what I mean? Like, you feel like you gotta pack the song full of just notes and playing, and here's a part, I'm gonna play this part, and everybody's playing, and we're all doing this. It doesn't have to be like that, you know, like,
Yeah.
Pull back, you know, create room in the song, make it breathe. And, you know, it's a parallel that I have with visual art, you know, to kind of tie the two together. It's not always about what it is that you've drawn or painted. It's also the negative space, you know, and those negative spaces need to be just as interesting as the drawing or the painting that you've created. And it applies to music, you know, it really does.
Yeah.
So that was a great album. Again, that was another album that was engineered by Brett from Echo Lynn at Catapult. And it came out phenomenally well. Super proud of that album.
Yeah.
It's the first thing I ever recorded that was released on a label for crying out loud. And that was awesome. It's huge, you know.
Yeah, reviews were great, and you guys started playing like really great shows, really great like prog festivals and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
What's that experience been like, playing, you know, for people who actually want to hear like really good dense prog music? Like,
it's nerve-wracking, man. It's nerve-wracking. They're great. Like the prog community. They love it. They love prog. They love music, and it can be intimidating to play for them because they are acutely aware of everything that you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, you walk off stage and they're talking about, you know, like a song that, you know, you had played, and they're like, wow, you know, the middle section in there, you know, there were 6 bars that it felt like, you know, if you guys would just swing it from, instead of like a 20% swing on the 8th note, if maybe, you know, you just kind of swung it maybe like 35-40%, it would, you know, change the feel of it. You know, they're like, when you were playing the halftime section, the guitarist, he was doing like an ionic scale, and the bassist was doing this, and, you know, if you would use some implied time modulation, you know, you could really just like blow everybody's mind, and you're like, can you just enjoy the song?
Yeah.
But it's great, you know. Again, it's all about punching up and kind of stepping into waters that you're not comfortable with to learn more. And I've learned so much more from playing with these guys that I could never even begin to express, like, how much. It's crazy, but it's fun to play for that crowd.
For some reason that just made me think of the Butthead line. The angle of the dangle is inadvertently perpendicular to the heat of the beat. But I don't know.
It's true. It's true. It's so true. No, we got to play. There's like a handful of shows that I've played that just like really are scorched into my memory. One of them is, of course, the Trocadero with the Stonejackballers. And another one was the Rozfest that Valdez played, the Rite of Spring Festival. It's a progressive festival that used to be held out in Gettysburg, and they last year moved to Florida. We played the last year that they were in Pennsylvania. And it was incredible. I mean, like, it's one of those things, like, you tell them, they supply the back line. You know, I had brought my cymbals, but they're like, what size drums do you play? And, you know, I gave them, and they had those drums like on stage waiting. It was just amazing. Wow. Just a great sound check. You know, like, you walk in and they give you like little towels and stuff like that. Like, I'm like, I got a towel. They gave dude a towel. Like, I can wipe my face off like this. I'm keeping this. I'm keeping my Rozfest towel, and I still have it.
Good.
But it was amazing. You know, these rooms, you know, it was, you play bar show and bar show and bar show, and then all of a sudden you're playing shows that are ticketed, you know, where, like, oh my God, there's seats. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
There's rows of seats and people are sitting in them, you know, and I'm playing music for these people. Like, it's totally different, you know. I'm used to playing in bars. So it's a total shift.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
So, you guys, were you working on the follow-up when you lost your keyboard player, or
Yes.
did he? Yeah.
Yeah, we had it, the album, and it's set to release in 2021. The label did not want to put it out during COVID, but it's recorded. It's in the can, which is great. We had the songs nailed down, and then we lost Joe.
Okay.
So, which, with COVID and everything, it gives you time. And now that the date has been pushed back to 2021, we've got time to kind of restructure some things and revisit some things. And, you have to be careful, like we talked about before, muddying with it or
too much,
playing with it too much.
So in that process, how was, as someone who auditioned for this band, how was it going out and looking for someone to fill that role, and bringing in, another guitar player? Like, did you get to be there for any of the decision making on, like, I like him, let's you're our guy?
Yeah.
You got to hand the baton, like.
Yes. The keyboardist was still in the band when the guitarist came in. Carl.
Oh, okay.
When Carl joined. So that was all, part of the thing. We were going to bring Carl in and add, to the sound. So that's how that kind of lined up. And it was a more, in the beginning, it was more of a keyboard focused album. But since losing the keyboards, now you have to fill that space. So we kind of have to restructure some things and make the guitars more prominent. But yeah, it was really cool to be there and to not be the new guy anymore.
Get me water, new guy.
Yeah, right. But dude, you've seen a couple of the videos. Carl's just amazing.
Yeah, dude, he's super sick.
Super sick. Like I never thought, I've been just blessed over my lifetime with being able to play with just outstanding musicians. And
me too.
You're in that group. Dude.
No, I'm not.
Yes, the hell you are. You are, and you know it. But the thing is that, like, this list, like, they just keep getting better and better. And like, like playing with Joe and keyboards was awesome. I was like, oh my God, I'm playing with keys, like this piano, like this is awesome, jamming along, and there's other things that you have to pay attention to when you're doing that percussively, you know what I mean? But Carl's just, he's out of this world. Like, there's times where, like, we'll be rehearsing and you just got to stop. Like, hold on a second, dude. Are you really doing that? Like, that's just insane. Like, I have to, like, we were doing the last recording last week, and I had to turn Carl's guitar down in Simon's monitor because, like, what Carl was playing was so killer that Simon was paying attention to what he was playing instead of, like, singing and playing. He's like, you just got to turn it down because it's too awesome. I'm focusing on it too much.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's incredible, but he's also now the new guy.
Yeah. So you guys become Tribe of Names, and then the world shits the bed. Kind of walk people through, like, how you guys have been handling the pandemic and kind of continuing, to work on the album. A bit, but also putting together this YouTube channel that you guys have now, which is fucking awesome.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of work, man. But it's a total shift. Before COVID, it was all right. Well, let's get this album recorded. Let's get it pressed. Let's get it out, and then we'll play shows and support it. And that'll be great. And then, like you said, the world shit the bed. Live shows just don't happen anymore. So you got to be flexible. And I think we've done a really good job. And one of the first things that we kind of decided that we had to do was, well, if we're going to record, we record and rehearse here at the house. You kind of have to upgrade some tech to do it. You know what I mean? Like, you can't record live drums and live guitars and vocals. Like, there's no way you're going to pick up vocals, right? So excuse me. So, we put one of those plexiglass shields around the drums. and there's a cool little drum device. It's like a microphone effects thing that Yamaha makes. It's called an EAD10 that I have for the drums. And it picks up it's got condenser mics, picks up the drum sounds, gives them some reverb. Really, really cool piece of kit.
That is cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, it takes like, overheads and miking everything individually. You don't have to do that. You just clip this little thing onto your bass drum and you got a little module and you can kind of go, it's got all these cool presets and it's great. Right. So we use that, put the shield around the drums. We picked up a mixer, we got to have a mixer because everybody's got to be in ears. Guitars no longer go to amplifiers. Now they go right to the mixing board. So you need to be able to hear it. So, you're running everything out of the mixing board, everybody's in ears. And our focus was, if you can't play shows, we let's still be productive. Let's find a way to be productive. I think there's a lot of bands that just aren't doing anything. I'm speaking mostly major bands, but like there's so many bands out there you just don't hear from them. Like it's just all that stuff it's just disappeared. So we figured, let's get ahead of the curve, and get out there and start putting our stuff out there. So let's do it. Let's get creative and start making some videos. We've got time, we're not going to be playing shows. Yeah. So we might as well. And as fate would have it, as luck would have it, there were two, streaming festivals that we were able to be a part of. And that helps, those kind of things. But when those opportunities come up, since we've been doing videos and playing in this new way that we've been playing, we're able to do it. You just, instead of, you just take the sound out of the mixer and send the camera feed into it and boom, you're streaming. It's not that easy, but
for all intents and purposes, it's that easy. Yeah.
Did you just say intensive purposes?
I said intents and purposes. I have a lisp, Scott. You know this.
But yeah, so I mean, for intents and purposes, yeah, that's the gist of it. But I feel like we were smart by doing that because it put ourselves ahead of everybody. Now we're doing this and it's easy. I mean, like we can turn around, we can record. We just recorded a song on Thursday night. Today's Monday, and the song's been mixed, the video's been edited, and it's ready to go. So the turnaround time, and we're streamlined. You know what I mean? So like now we're kind of cooking.
Yeah,
and able to make it happen, and we get to get stuff into people's hands and on people's screens, and people get to see us and hear us and interact. And there's just a lot of that missing from a lot of bands.
Yeah. So, one of the other glorious things that has come out of a bad thing. So another good thing that's come out of the pandemic, besides, you building this YouTube studio essentially and being able to record that stuff, is you now play guitar.
Let's not go that far.
You play guitar. I've seen the videos, sir. You can play.
Yeah, I've been lazy lately. I haven't picked it up in like 3 weeks.
Cool.
I lost my calluses.
No.
Yeah. I know. But what's so funny is that, dude, I know like 7 chords. My strength is that like I have rhythm, right? So like that gets me by. But like I understand why guitarists are so anal retentive about keeping their fingernails clipped. Because dear Lord, man, those things get caught on the strings or just like press against your fretboard, and it's nuts.
Yeah, that feeling against the fretboard is one of my top 10 least favorite feelings of all time. And like I've done real damage to myself, and that's worse. Like,
yeah, but it's hella fun. I mean, there's really something special about just how good a clean chord sounds. Like when you just hit it and it's just you're like, oh man, it just resonates like in your soul. And I had got this guitar during COVID. It's a decent guitar, nothing crazy, but the person who had it clearly, hadn't taken any care to have it set up. And fortunately, Carl from Tribe of Names is for all intensive purposes, a luthier. So he took a look at it and he's like, all right, well, we can lower the action on this thing, get it kind of fixed up, and took care of it and got it playing really, really nicely. And that makes a world of a difference. Yeah. He was like, you're having to press so far down on the strings that you're actually making the note sharp, because there's so much distance that it has to travel. I was like, oh my God. And then he had not tuned it up, but restrung it for me, because I can't even restring it. But he restrung it. I was like, oh my God, that makes a world of difference. Like new strings and like having it set to where it is, it just makes it so much easier.
It took me maybe 4 years of guitar playing to realize that 98% of the problems I had playing guitar was because I was playing a shitty guitar. Then like once I got like a good guitar, I was like, oh, what? Like, why was I doing this the whole time? It was so much more difficult. But
you know what? That's part of it though. If you make it harder for yourself in the beginning, it will become easier for you.
It formulated some kind of discipline in playing. But now that you're playing guitar, I just want you to know that, look, I'm coming for you too. All right.
All right.
We're gonna.
What do you got? You got your pad in front of you?
No, I got a snare drum here and I got a set of bongos down here, just in case. But yeah. We'll switch it up. You can play some guitar in front of the band. I'll play the drums, and
I'm with it, man. I'm with it. Like I can't. I've maybe like ham-fisted my way through like a song or two, but there's no way that like I'll be able to sing and play. Like that has escaped me. I'm still, it's just such a different world. Your one hand's going this way, and your fingers are all doing all this stuff. I'm used to just like, like bam, bam, just give me something to hit. But it's cool, it's nice to kind of stretch the boundaries and get your head in a different space.
Well, by next summer at Tex-Mex, we're doing a song, and you're playing it, and I'm playing drums, and it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. You call the song, and we'll do it.
I'm with it. Yeah, that'll happen. No problem.
Are you ready to sit down and take the jauntlet?
Oh my God, the jauntlet! No, I need a minute. Hold on. Ma. Yeah, man, let's do it.
All right. First part, 2 segments. The first segment, one hit wonders. Number 1, Hagar or Roth?
Roth.
Yeah. Roth. Like, right?
Hands down. I for what he's become, like what he is now, it's tough and it sucks to see. But love him or hate him, the dude was an entertainer. And really, really cool stuff. If you listen to those like isolated vocal tracks of his from like, what was just the Van Halen album?
Yeah.
Where he's like doing Running with the Devil, like all of his little ad libs in the background. It's gold, man. That guy was something else. And funny thing is I had heard that it was like the late 90s or early 2000s or something like that he was like a paramedic, like an EMT in New York City.
Yeah. Legit. Like,
my God.
Like not like Steven Seagal was a sheriff, like legit EMT.
Yeah. Could you imagine being on a stretcher and they load you into an ambulance and you're like, man.
He tells a story, and I'm going to completely butcher it, but it's something along the lines of like they were resuscitating a guy, and like they brought him back, and it was like David Lee Roth is sitting over him, and he was like, "No, it didn't work." Like, this can't be real. Like,
yeah, I believe that, man. That would be a total mind F. Like, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with it? I don't know. But yeah, definitely Roth. And it's funny. I don't know if I'm stretching this segment too far, but we were watching. It was an Eddie Money special that was on TV last weekend, and it was hosted by Sammy Hagar. So he's like, it's when it's Sammy Hagar, it's Sammy Hagar. He's doing this thing, and he's talking about. They brought James Hetfield in to do an Eddie Money song, and they brought Thorogood in to do one.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and he's going on and on. He's like talking to these people as they're doing it, and I'm like, okay, when are they going to get to the music? And they had Eddie Money's like sons playing the instruments with Sammy Hagar like leading, and they're they're talking to all these people. I'm like, wow, man, I'm going to get to see James Hetfield do an Eddie Money song. I think he was going to, I don't remember, and they get to the whole thing. It's like an hour long, and they show Sammy Hagar playing Shaking. And then it ends. I'm like, wait, where's the rest of the show?
That was
it? You talked to all these people. I'm like, damn you, Sammy Hagar. Damn you.
He needed the stage. He's like, I've been living in David Lee Roth's shadow all these years. Let me fucking just congratulate Eddie Money.
What about Gary Sharon? Why don't you put him on the list?
Look, I've said this. It's become now a recurring thing in the past 2 episodes. But look, you can hit lightning twice. All right, like you got Dave, you got Sammy, 2 wildly different but very successful versions of the band. When you went for it the 3rd time, no way, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, man, rest in peace, Eddie, man.
I know, it's so sad.
That's tough, man. That's tough.
You know, being a Tool fan, did you ever see that photo of that Wolfgang, Eddie Van Halen's kid, posted maybe like last year? He and Eddie went to a Tool concert, and some couple asked Eddie Van Halen, can you take our picture, not knowing who he was. So Wolfgang took a picture of Eddie Van Halen taking a picture of this couple, not knowing that fucking one of the greatest guitar players of all time was the guy they just asked to take the photo. It's awesome.
But he did it though, right? He did
He did.
He did it, you know, and that's cool. That you got to feel like a schmuck. Did they ever find out that, like,
they had to, because that video that Wolfgang posted went super viral. So, like, I'm sure they were like,
well, good.
Oh, yeah,
it deserves to. Yeah, it deserves to. Wow.
Oh, God.
Yeah, definitely David Lee Roth. And I'm going to sidebar again. I had worked with a guy, David Cutler Group. I don't know if you remember my tenure with them. That home building company. A guy that I had worked with there, Ron Schwoyer. He had fronted a Van Halen tribute band called Jamie's Crying. And I shit you not, this dude was like David Lee Roth, like reincarnate. Like, he could do it. And he was the guy that I reached out to when I heard about Eddie. You know, I had to check in with Ron because I knew he would be taking it like seriously hard. And he was relaying a story that Eddie had actually seen Jamie's Crying play. And he had said to Ron, he goes, you do David Lee Roth better than David Lee Roth does David Lee Roth.
Oh, dude.
And that's huge. I mean, like, he was out there like doing the karate kicks and stuff like that. Like, stick with it. He was really sick.
That's amazing. That's the greatest. Like, that's all you can ask for if that's what you're doing. Like, amazing.
Right.
Amazing.
So yeah, David Lee Roth, definitely Roth.
One hit wonder number 2, Biggie or Pac?
I'm a Biggie guy.
Yeah,
I'm a Biggie guy. I understand everybody, you know, has strong emotions about this. If you have an emotion about this, it's a strong emotion. I was just never that into Pac. I feel like Pac is better. Well, socially, like, he was socially aware. Okay. You know, he's woke.
Yeah, I'll take that.
He had his head wrapped around the fact that what he was saying to people was going to be listened to and kind of acted upon, right? Like, he was trying to make people better most of the time.
Yeah.
He was socially aware of music that he was creating, the fact that he's an influence and people were looking up to him. But I think Big Stuff is just dope. You know what I mean? Like, he just had great beats, and he was saying some crazy stuff. So that's where I put my allegiance to in that one.
100%. I think I know the answer to this one, and maybe I don't. Maybe I'm wrong. But a one hit wonder number 3, Nirvana or Pearl Jam?
Dude, you know it's Pearl Jam.
Yeah,
it's Pearl Jam. It's Pearl Jam. They lasted, man. You know, not like, you know,
right.
Nirvana was, but it just had way more of an impact. You know, losing Kurt sucked. It sucked for our generation. You know, a lot of people idolized the guy. He was a tortured soul. and that came out in the music. But Pearl Jam, man, they're just so much more musical, just so good. You had texted me this week about Pearl Jam finally releasing that Unplugged show.
Yeah.
That's such a good show, man. It was so good. And David Bruzzese is one of my favorite drummers. I haven't really seen anything that he's done ever since, Pearl Jam gave him the boot, but he's my favorite Pearl Jam drummer. And that performance from Unplugged is just amazing. I mean, the guy's a powerhouse. Definitely Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
They're still around. I've seen them a couple times. They're amazing live. So good. Looking forward to seeing them again when the world gets back to normal. I mean, they released an album. They were one of the bands that did something, they released an album during COVID. So yeah, Pearl Jam all the way.
Excellent. One hit wonder number 4, Beatles or Stones?
I've come a long way with the Stones. I used to just despise them. Just something about them, growing up, it just didn't gel with me. And I was never really a huge Beatles fan either. Meeting Matt definitely was a huge Beatle influence. That dude could play the Beatles songbook from start to finish, most of it by heart, which is just insane. So that taught me a bigger appreciation for the Beatles. There's still a lot that I'm not even aware of or up to speed with, but they were just so good and so good. They were doing stuff that was light years ahead of other bands, and they just, paved the way, for so many bands. The Rolling Stones, I dig them. I feel like, and I'm probably going to catch flack for this. A lot of bands from the 60s and 70s are guilty of it, but I feel like they just made a career raping the blues. Okay. But respect, right? I mean, you can't have a career as big and as long as theirs without doing something right. Mick Jagger's a hell of an entertainer. Keith Richards, at this point, I'm not even sure he even knows what song he's playing when he's on stage, but he looks cool as hell doing it.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. But Beatles, man, Beatles, they're so good. They're the vibe. They're the jam.
The follow-up to that, who is your favorite Beatle?
My favorite Beatle? It's not Ringo.
That's so sad.
I know it is. And it's not because I'm not going to trash Ringo. I'm not going to take that route. Ringo was a great drummer. He was perfect for the Beatles. He was the right thing for the Beatles. But he's not my favorite Beatle. I don't know enough about George, really. I mean, he wrote Something, and that's such a beautiful song. When Sinatra tells you that, that's the greatest love song that's ever been written. Yeah. You've done something right. But I don't know, I'm not one of those guys that can go through the Beatles album and go, that's a Paul song. That's a John song. No idea. But the fact that that George did was that song from the 80s. I've got my mind set on. Yeah. Love that song, right? I gotta give it, it's a toss-up between John and Paul. I'm gonna give it to Paul. I mean, it's a 50-50 shot, but I'm gonna lean to Paul. The reason he did some cool Wing stuff, and he's still around, so I got to give it to him.
Yeah, all right. I respect that. The reason I said it's sad is because, I was thinking about it, and everybody makes a Ringo joke whenever I ask that question. And in my head, I was like, here's the only opportunity for maybe Ringo to get the nod.
Not from here. No.
And you slagged him.
Yeah, you're barking up the wrong tree. I'd put Charlie Watts over Ringo.
Charlie Watts is a human metronome. I completely understand putting him up over Ringo.
And he's insane stylistically. The thing with when he plays, I don't know if you're aware of this. I'm sure most people are, but I can see my hands on the screen, so I'll like do a little demo. Like most beats that you play on the hi-hat and the snare, you're playing like cha dun dun cha, and your hands hit the snare drum and the hi-hat at the same time, dun, dun, like that, right? But Charlie Watts doesn't do that. He goes dun dun cha dun 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 cha dun dun cha cha dun, cha. He like skips it off, and it's kind of like a Rolling Stone, right?
Yeah.
Like he creates that jagged edge, which is insane. So yeah, sorry,
Funny,
Ringo.
Funny Charlie Watts side note, and this is a bit of a name drop, if I may. But one time I was in a conversation with a group of people, but one of those people was Questlove, and someone said, "Hey, when Quest is playing on Seed 2.0, I feel like he's doing some kind of like John Bonham thing." And in my head, I'm like, "You have no idea what you're talking about, kid." And I said, I always thought he was trying to channel his inner Charlie Watts, and Quest was like, "That's exactly what I was doing." He was like, "Me on Seed 2.0 is me doing my impression of Charlie Watts." So yeah. I can see you hitting the nail on the head perfectly on that one. And and to add to that, I don't think Questlove has ever tried to channel Bonham. Never.
Like that's not where he's at. He's in a totally different lane.
Yeah. He's pretty good.
Pretty good.
He's made quite a career out of himself. Final one-hit wonder, Prince or MJ?
Ooh, dude, I just watched a Prince retrospective last weekend, and it was made before his death, which I thought was pretty interesting because there's a lot of stuff that you look at differently after someone's passed. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You'll look at it with rose-colored glasses and kind of forgive some of the transgressions stylistically. I'm going with Prince. After seeing that, MJ was awesome. He was great, but he had I think long fizzled out artistically, and Prince was still going. Not to mention, you just talk about songwriting skills and musical ability. Mike could dance, and he could put on that show. But Prince, man, just writing everything and playing everything and doing it with like zero apologies and anybody being able to tell him anything about how it was going to be. It was Prince's way or it was a highway, and he played with the sickest, tightest band. Always so good. I gotta go with Prince.
100%. I'm right there with you. There with you. Like he was astounding. Like he was absolutely astounding.
He doesn't have the hits that Michael had. But just the he was just so good. Yeah. He was just so good. And watching that retrospective of him, it's funny, because I had no idea that question was even coming. And watching it, it's just like, oh my God, like songs you forget about. And there's stuff that you didn't even know about. So many albums that he had released, just like instrumental records that, after the next day, it was Saturday that I watched it. And then Sunday I'd woken up as I'm, getting the morning coffee going. It's Alexa play, excuse me, Alexa play Prince. And just let it go for like 5 or 6 hours. And I'm blown away by so much of the stuff that he played. I'm like,
hit it up.
Getting all verklempt over Prince. Oh!
Scott's just telling on himself that he's got COVID.
yeah, right. I can smell, I can taste. Here's one of my Jawns right here. Can you see that? That's buddy. Straight up. That's my Jawn. Rosenberger's representing.
Speaking of, here we go. Top 10 countdown. Top 10, number 1. What was your first Jawn? What was the first thing you found yourself obsessed with? Musical or anything?
Top 10 Jawn, first thing obsessed with. It's got to be drums. It's got to be. Yeah, once I got into it, it was drums all the time. And God bless my parents for putting up with that. That's not an easy thing.
Brother, I think about how loud and bad we were in your basement, in your room, all those years, and they just took it, man.
I know, never complained, never. There might have been once. It was after like 4 hours. They were like, "All right, enough."
Yeah.
So yeah, it's drums. Yeah.
Much respect. Number 2, what's your current Jawn? What's something you're into right now?
You're drawing me out, dude. You're drawing me out. I've been collecting some Star Wars Legos. Now, this isn't like new Jawn, but it's definitely a current Jawn. I'm totally loving Star Wars Legos right now. They're super cool, man. Super cool.
What's your current build? What are you working on right now?
Right now, I just finished the Mos Eisley Cantina that was released, and right now I'm building a Yoda statue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've got some on the sidelines that I'm waiting. You know, you can't just go out and buy something and build it. You have to have stuff to build for a rainy day.
I understand.
But, yeah.
For those listening and even those watching, you don't see any of it, but Scott's Lego builds are ridiculous. He's got so many goddamn Star Wars Legos. It's a thing. It's definitely his current Jawn. Like, I will back it.
Yeah, they're in the room that I'm in right now. In cases, and there's a lot. Yeah. There's a lot.
Yeah, you do it. You do it big. Number 3, you answered earlier. First concert was New Kids.
New Kids on the Block, yeah.
Which is amazing.
Oh, yeah. I got kicked in the head, dude. When they came on stage, everybody jumps up out of their seats. And it was at the Spectrum. I got kicked in the back of the head by the girls that were behind us. And like the smell of the room changed. It was different. It was an atmosphere.
Yeah, I'm sure.
The whole atmosphere.
I'm sure it was. Number 4, what was the last concert you went to?
Last concert? It was Madonna.
Yeah?
Madonna was the last concert I went to, yeah.
That's cool. That's definitely cool.
I don't know if that qualifies as a concert, but yeah, we started. How is that my bookend? New Kids and Madonna.
Have you seen anything in between there?
There's so much cool stuff in between there. You were there for a severe majority of those, but like New Kids and Madonna, they're my first and last. Oh,
and now with COVID, that might be your very last concert. You don't know.
That's it. That was tough, man. I don't even know if Madonna, it counts as a concert. She performed and she sang. It was weird though. It was really weird.
Yeah.
Very entertaining, but weird. Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. Number 5, what is your favorite concert you've ever been to?
Out of all of them, it's kind of weird to say it. We were talking about the other day, Muse.
Oh, really?
Muse, yeah. I know they catch a lot of flack for, I guess, trying to be a new age queen. They've kind of got that thing going on. But just such a great stage show. For 3 guys, they're like a power trio.
Yeah.
And this is having seen Tool and Rush, and I've had my doors blown off by all these guys. The first time I saw Neil Peart play a drum solo, I cried. It was amazing. But this was it's so full, total package. Like the stage animatronics and things building and growing and spinning. And the only dude I've ever seen do a power slide on his knees on the stage. I've never seen that before. I'll probably change my answer, but I'm gonna go with Muse. Certainly awesome. The most entertaining and one of the most impactful, because it was just I haven't seen a band give it like they did. Yeah. So hate me, send me mail.
I'll put his information so you can mail him about that. No, it's a respectful answer. Number 6, who have you never seen live that you always wish you would have? This person can be living or dead.
Oh, there's a bunch. It would have been great to be able to see Nirvana back in the day. That would have been really great. I think we'd even come close to going, and like we passed on it. We're like, we'll go around. We'll come around next time. We'll go.
Yep. Yes, we did.
Yeah. Whoopsies. Zeppelin. Zeppelin is regrettable and never haven't had the chance.
Yeah.
You talk about the Beatles. That would have been amazing. There's some on the bucket list that were, I was able to see, like, got to see Elton John. That was huge. Billy Joel. I'd love to see Billy Joel. Haven't seen him. Yeah, there's lots of answers to that one, man. Yeah. All
right. Number 7, name an unappreciated Jawn.
Unappreciated Jawn. Keeping your mouth shut about politics. Unappreciated Jawn. Like one of my Jawns?
Anything you think should have more shine than it does.
Let's circle back to that. Let's circle back.
We'll come back. Number 8, favorite album.
Favorite album, Rush, 2112.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah, super crazy. I can put it on and listen to it anytime, all the time, every time.
Yeah. Number 9, name an artist whose output you will consume anything they release, even if you have to be apologetic for it.
Tool.
Yeah. Now, do you feel apologetic for any of it? Like, is there any that you're just like, maybe you just don't get it, or?
Okay, let me shift.
Okay.
I'm in the same lane, but I'm just gonna swerve a little. Pucifer.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, because that stuff it goes all over the place, and some of it's really out there. That you do have to be apologetic about it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but it just like take that with a grain of salt. But check this out. Yeah, that's.
I think the beautiful thing to that answer is the poster is literally right behind your head.
Both of them. Wait, hold on. Here the people of view. There's the one, the Moon Man, and then there's the other one. Yeah.
That's awesome. Perfect.
That's funny.
Perfect.
I'm such a mark.
I'm circling back. Number 7, unappreciated Jawn.
Unappreciated Jawn. Dude, I'm still stuck on it. I've even been kind of thinking about it in the back of my head. Man. And I'll walk away and go, oh, yeah, this is what. Dude, you got me. Does this stump people?
Every once in a while it does. Yeah. There's a few in here that, like, occasionally people are like, oh, that is something I gotta, can I give you one?
Yeah.
2 Skinny J's.
Oh, dude. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. They could use more shine. They were great, man. They were really great. But you know what, though? I don't think there's room for them in, like, today's musical landscape.
There's not. It's weird too. It's really weird because, like, it was just such a like, it to me screams that time period. Like, it's just perfectly.
Yeah, it was like, they were doing, you look at the contemporaries of that time. I mean, you're talking about, like, 311. There was that new rock. That was when 311 was like hip hop meets rock, right? And you got your Limp Bizkits and your Linkin Parks and all that stuff. And it's just not that music's just not made anymore. Although maybe it should be. It's
coming back. Everything comes back.
Everything. I don't think dubstep's going to come back.
I don't know. They'll find a way. Some dumb kid with a dumb haircut will start, like, mixing things, and then all of a sudden people will be like, do you ever hear of a thing called dubstep? And it's like, no, fuck you, not again.
Yeah, we've been through this. But there's, just as many people that will say the same thing about new metal. And,
yeah. No doubt. Number 10, the final one. What is your favorite Jawn of all time? Again, can be anything.
My Life.
Yeah.
Does my life count as an answer?
100%.
No, I love my life. It's a great life. You know, all the roads that you take, you know, that take you to where you are, like right now. You know, there's been, you know, ups and downs and all that stuff. You know, it's cliche. But I love my life. So that's I'll give you an answer after I say that, because, you know, life is good. But I've been watching Star Wars Rebels.
Yes.
I was late to the party on this. So that's like my current Jawn. Not my all-time Jawn, but it's really great.
Dude, Rebels is without a doubt my favorite non-original trilogy piece of Star Wars. Like, it's so goddamn good. And like, how far in are you? Or
I'm like 5 episodes into the second season. So,
dude, you have so much goodness ahead of you.
Yeah. So like, they just brought in the 2 Inquisitors.
Mm-hmm.
And they've teamed up with Rex, which I've slept on all that stuff, like Clone Wars and Rebels. Clone Wars was awesome. The last season, I mean, when they started throwing the Disney money at it, was just out of this world.
Yeah.
But Rebels, I always looked at, I was like, it's just like, it's for little kids. It's just a little kid show, but it's not. It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
you have so much good stuff ahead of you too. It gets so dense. It gets so dense.
I'm excited, you know, and to circle back to the Star Wars Legos. One of the things that I had gotten recently that I was super hype about, and I hadn't even seen the show yet, was the Ghost.
Yes.
I had found the Ghost, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. You know, it's really neat. Now I'm like, oh, the Ghost is so dope. I'm like, it's such a great ship, and it's tied in, so it's really cool.
Dude, I was like a solo person in Rogue One. Ghost pops up. I start freaking out in the theater. Like, Katie and I are like going nuts. And then in Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker, when the trailer came out, I was like, right there, look, there it is again. Like,
yeah. You're one of those guys.
I'm one of those guys. And everyone's like, what are you cheering at? And I'm like, sit down. Stop talking.
Yeah, man, it's a cool show. It's really great, and it's sucked me in. And the problem is that I'll put on like an episode while I fall asleep, and you know, it stops when like the battery dies, right? So I'm like, wait a second, I didn't finish the series. I mean, my phone thinks I've watched the whole series, you know, and Disney thinks I've watched the whole series, but I'm like, wait a second, no, I was on episode 3, season 2. Okay, so I got to be careful.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Tell all these fine people how they can find you and Tribe of Names on the internets.
Yes, we are everywhere as Tribe of Names. As far as I understand it, we're Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We're not doing TikTok. We're not that hip. Yeah. Everywhere, Tribe of Names. You just look up Tribe of Names, whatever platform you're going for.
I will post some links also in the descriptions of everything and all that.
Yeah, check us out. You know, we've got that YouTube channel going, picking up momentum. You know, got to just keep chugging along and putting stuff out there and keep working it, man. But it's great. You know, we're loving it, having a great time playing music and just getting to get stuff out there for people to see.
You guys are releasing videos once a week or something like that, weekly?
Once a week. And what we're trying to kind of, it's not all just music, you know. There's like a couple videos where Simon will review like some of the pedals on his guitar rig, you know, or maybe it's a couple minutes about the meaning of one of the songs, like where it originates, comes from, and then of course music, you know. So yeah, lots of stuff.
That's awesome.
There will more content as time goes.
Well, I'm glad to finally honor your father's request because I've told Scott this story before, but Scott's dad, when I kicked off the podcast, sent me a private message on Facebook and said, will you be having any of the members of Tribe of Names on Yo, That's My Jawn? And well, of course, I'm going to have one of my best friends, one of the most important gentlemen in my life on my show. I wouldn't do anything without this guy involved somehow in some way. Scott, thank you so much for joining us today on That's My Jawn.
My pleasure, dude. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me, man. It was great. Your Jawn rocks, man. It was awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I am going to stop. We can talk a little, and then there's going to be an outro and some music and credits, and we're going to relay where they find you on the internet and all that good stuff.
Da, 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 da.
Thank you, 1,000 times thank you to my dear friend Scott Miller. You can find Tribe of Names on YouTube and at Tribe of Names on Instagram and Twitter. And check out the Valdez album, This, available on Apple Music and Spotify and all them streaming services. And be on the lookout for their new album coming out in 2021 on Bad Elephant Records. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the podcast on all your favorite podcast providers and share it across all the social medias. Snap talk that tweetgram, my friends. Tell all your peeps about it. And earn yourself that truly super awesome Jawn Scout Merit Badge for Citizenship of the World by rating and reviewing us. Don't forget to visit www.yothat'smyjawn.com and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/yothat'smyjawn for updates and live streams. And find Yo, That's My Jawn on YouTube for the video companion to this podcast and more. Like and subscribe the heck out of that ish. We want to hear from you. Reach out, and touch some Jawn. Well, this is the end, beautiful friends. If you are hearing this before November 3rd, please vote. And if you're listening to it after, how'd it turn out? How is it? Tell me. No, wait. Don't tell me. See, I'm already in a volatile ball of anxiety as it is, and I don't need the jet fuel of knowledge of the future to come splashing down on that flame. So I guess until next time, everybody, unless there isn't a next time. People listening to this after November 3rd, is there a next time for us to until then too? Is there? Tell me. Yo, That's My Jawn is a Lonely Monk production, written and produced by yours truly, Nate Runkle. Special thanks goes out to Fox Run Brands, Natalie Runkle-Tompkins, and of course, the very lovely Katie Daubney. If you or anyone you know has any ideas they would like to share or any guests they would like to see on the podcast, please feel free to reach out to us at yothat'smyjawn@gmail.com. But until next time, be sure to displace the guilt and embrace the pleasure and shout to the world, yo, that's my Jawn.